Jumbo everyone, and welcome to the Wellness Diary. I'm your host Seth Nyabere, a mental health advocate and founder of the Wellness Diary Foundation. This is a safe, non-judgmental space where we have real conversations around mental health, healing, growth, and life itself. Every fortnight, we sit down with psychologists, clinicians, support workers, community leaders, and people with lived experience to break down the conversation that too often get hidden behind stigma. Whether you're here to better understand yourself, support someone you love, or simply learn, you belong here. Because mental health education shouldn't be kept, it belongs to all of us. This is the Wellness Diary. Jumbo, welcome to your safe space, the Wellness Diary. My name is Seth Nyabere. Today I'm honored to have two very distinguished guests in studio. They are the kind of guests that every time I meet and every time I engage with them, I feel like I was in an institution of learning, of higher learning. So today I'm going to introduce to you, and they're going to talk about their experience through life and understanding trauma. We're just going to unpack together what trauma really means, what the complexity of trauma really means. And we're going to walk through this journey and hope that each and every one of us is going to understand it from a point of individual. As we start off, Bob Simmons and Adela Holmes.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome to the show. Bob,
good to be here.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see you guys. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Right. I've seen one of the things that I found very inspiring from both of you is the decade of your combination, and you bring in a rich knowledge and experience, and I'm happy to share it with the listeners and the audience today. Adela, you are a consultant in trauma-informed therapeutic practice, right?
Yes, I am now.
You are now. Yeah. And I also like to recognize and acknowledge your great work your great work, and especially in work in two, not only one, just two of therapeutic initiatives with the state government that are still in operation for 18 and 23 years now.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, which is quite pleasing to me.
It is.
Yeah.
And I'll just give you, Bob, I'll give you a few minutes to, take us through what it is like to be in the therapeutic informed practice.
Well, working in a trauma-informed way has taken many, many years to emerge in the Victorian context.
Yeah.
People have been working in that way in other countries of the world for longer. And perhaps it's a proximity thing.
Yeah.
But we in Australia tended to find out some of these new initiatives later. And the more that I've learned since the late 1990s, the better my practice has become, because, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, but practice that's informed adequately and accurately is obviously going to be more successful than that which is not.
Yeah.
And for many, many years, I worked, for 5 decades.
Yeah.
So you can work out, I wasn't 3 when I started.
5 decades, I can't talk about mine.
For 5 decades, I have been kind of working towards and learning more and learning more to the point that now I really feel able, and perhaps for the past 20 years, feel able to provide and support others to provide interventions which will really make a difference to the healing possibilities in people's lives.
Yeah, wow.
So that's what I've seen over all those decades.
Yeah.
And it's been like a journey towards it.
Yeah.
But as I look back on it,
Yeah.
the journey, I can see exactly what the journey was.
Yeah.
But I didn't necessarily know what the journey would be when I started out on the path.
How does it feel like to see your work being, your work helping other people,
Amazing,
uplifting
I
the
have
lives
to
of other
say.
people and giving them
Yeah.
hope?
I feel so proud
Yeah.
of those, particularly the two initiatives
Yeah.
that the state government in Victoria that I was involved in the
Yes.
development of. And as you say, one has been operating for 23 years now and has been reviewed and continued.
Yes.
And the other for just under 19 years, which again is, it's remarkable.
Yeah.
Plus the outcomes for all of those children and young people.
I've actually been I'm living experience of working in an environment where those initiatives you developed are part of play. And I've seen that, like, the good work it does to young people. I've seen a young person transition. I've visited this young person, and it's amazing what it does to people, because I come from a country where it's different how people perceive things, and we are starting to learn come out of it and understand what it really means to work with people from a diverse kind of backgrounds with neurodivergency of people. And Bob, you also have quite a rich experience, and you've been a high school teacher. You've been a social worker with young offenders. You've been a senior lecturer training teachers who are working with socially disadvantaged students.
And correctional settings,
Correctional settings, wow. When we say socially disadvantaged, for the sake of our viewers, what does that mean?
Basically, it's sort of centres on poverty, but life conditions, which, because of my education background, disadvantage children in their performance at school. So, socially disadvantaged has an economic sort of overlay, but there's also impact on their emotional development. Just through simple things like, I can't afford to go on the school excursion, and what that does to a child who's already feeling a lack of belonging or confidence and so on. So there's a lot of things in the school experience that can exacerbate the emotional development of children. So social disadvantage is just part of,
And Adela, you look like you wanted to add on to the socially disadvantaged.
Well, just to say that social disadvantage in and of itself does not necessarily create a traumatizing environment, and I'll expand on that a bit further on in our conversation. But it can contribute some factors, but it doesn't necessarily result in the level of harm that, for example, brings children into the notice of child protection. So all of my career, for all those 5 decades, has been focused on the needs of children and young people who have found themselves subjected to removal from home, placement in care, in out-of-home care, with all that implies, how that's changed over decades, but also some of the myths that surround that.
And just to touch on that social disadvantage, there's a more understanding, because I have, when I was in school, they are young, like we used to do a lot of things, and part of it was more because I come from a culture where everything used to be communal, like, you work in groups, you support each other in community groups. And in schools, we had students who appeared to have more than the others. And you could see how they would influence a lot of things around. And part of it was even sharing the little that they had, because there are kids who used to bring, things have changed now, but we have children and students who still bring breaks and snacks to school, while others could not afford to bring it. And this, you could see the faces. I could literally remember some of the faces and how people used that for power play. Young people, we'll talk about that when we come to topics like bullying and all that. But yeah, so Bob, there was an emotional aspect of it with young people or the children or students who are not able to cope well in school.
Yeah, especially if labels from other students and teachers are also negative.
Yeah.
Like you can't do your schoolwork, or you don't speak like we do, and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Those put down sorts of things. If a kid is already feeling unworthy, those things just compound that feeling. And so you see it in school performance, but also in terms of their behaviour.
Yeah.
They do find ways of getting noticed.
Oh, yes. And it's a bit loud when they want to get noticed. And one of the things is also the contribution of the school teachers, like you, Bob, who would have been in positions of supporting these people, these young students. And the imbalance that came with the teachers as well mattered a lot, because I witnessed and observed quite a number of teachers being very aggressive towards disadvantaged children or students, punishing these young people or children about their emotional status of well-being. And it felt, as you grow, you start to understand that even teachers had stereotypes and classified these students into groups. They would pay more attention to, students who performed well and punish more the ones who never performed well. And this is changing, but it still applies to certain areas of the world, Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to move us forward, Adela, understanding trauma, because it's a word that is used. When I migrated from Kenya, I hardly knew much about trauma. I just knew it from a surface level. And sitting here today with all this kind of knowledge and experience, and you'd wish the whole world would know. That's why we are sitting here today. Would you help us unravel and unpack what trauma really means? Yeah.
Well, yes, and it's a good opportunity to because there are lots of misapprehensions about different kinds of trauma. And I'll speak mainly about the type of trauma that I've been working with over all the years, which becomes seen through the lens of our child protection systems. So they're the client group that I focused on for 50 decades. 5 decades, 50 years or more, actually.
I'm sure when you say 5 decades, someone gets startled and thinks, oh,
that's
how
53
long
years.
has that been? Yeah,
that is 53
50
years. And no sign of giving up. But
that's a spirit,
definitely. Well,
keep on soldiering,
you referred before to the 2 major initiatives that I was very involved in developing and submitting to the state government and then running. That having had that experience and having seen the impact of that on children who people thought couldn't heal, healing, why would you give up? Why would you stop doing that?
Yeah.
Because I know how to do it, and I know how to help others to learn how to do it.
Very inspiring
But there's a very important distinction
yeah.
around different types of trauma, because different types of trauma require different types of intervention.
Okay.
So the type of trauma that I've been working with through children in out-of-home care for those 53 years has been what very prominent American neuropsychiatrist has termed complex trauma or developmental trauma. Now, that was hardly known about until about the early 1990s. But the work of Dr. Bruce Perry and the Child Trauma Academy in America has really brought that to the fore. That kind of trauma is trauma which provides the organising environment for a brain's development.
Okay.
So usually, often, it can start in utero, but certainly from birth onwards. And it is the type of trauma which is characterised by severe neglect, exposure to extreme violence, and other sorts of abuse, such as sexual abuse and physical abuse. So we are talking about a small group of children whose impact on the world is actually quite large if they don't heal. But statistically, it's a small but very significant group of individuals. Often there's more than one generation. And because increasingly more and more is known about this type of trauma, more and more young people and children are actually being healed. So my hope, and I believe it's a realistic hope, is that these individuals as adults will not pass on the trauma as has been the case before we knew. So complex or developmental trauma provides the organising environment for a brain. The other type of trauma is that type of trauma which impacts on an already organised brain. Now, that already organised brain may have been organised within a traumatic environment developmentally as well, or it may not. It may be the trauma of war or the trauma of famine or, there are many traumas that impact on brains which are already organised, but they don't have as profound an impact as complex trauma because it completely provides that organising environment for the brain. And therefore, the brain operates in that way because that's all it knows. And that has a major impact on presentation. Now, I don't use the word behaviour. It's very purposefully.
Fair enough.
Because behaviour is somewhat limiting. It's somewhat superficial. Or can be seen as. Whereas presentation is more about the whole person. And what we see in those children and young people who have experienced complex or developmental trauma is that their challenging presentations are actually symptoms of the trauma they have experienced. They look like they're doing it on purpose. And sometimes they will actually even say things that make them feel as if they're more in control than they actually are. But the behaviour that you see, the presentation that you see is symptomatic of harm that was done at a very early stage.
Bob and Adela, just before you continue, Bob, did you experience some of these kind of presentations while you are in teaching?
No, I was just thinking, yes, I would have, but I didn't have the language way back.
None of us did. We didn't have it. We didn't know.
Yeah, if I'm looking at 18 and 23 years back.
More than.
That was quite a transition.
When we first met and worked in similar environments, that was in 1971, 72, 73 and 74.
Wow. So, Bob, what kind of a language did you used to use to try be more therapeutic towards these students?
Generally, I would use the term disturbed, but that was really for any child that I didn't quite understand. It must be his fault or her fault. So it was as crude as that. But but I always worked through relationship. It was important to know the names and something about every child in the class and to be able to converse with them in the corridor, in the playground, and go on school camps and all sorts of things, and have informal opportunities for the child to see you in different contexts and feel that I was a trustworthy person. Can I give you one example of one guy who came out to Australia? I mean, most of the children in Sunshine were refugees after the Second World War. Just one example of the family escaped. I think the end of the war came just as they were sort of in the queue for the gas chamber, and he was 4. And then on the boat, I don't know where they went, but eventually finished up on a boat to Australia. And the boat hit a storm, and he was almost washed overboard, like that far away from. And someone grabbed him. None of this came out in his schooling. He was a nice kid, did well, good at athletics.
Wow.
And, he married and raised 3 kids. And to all intents and purposes, a lovely young man who did everything right until his mother died.
Wow. And everything just came out.
That's when he fell apart.
I can imagine the mom was more of a protective factor.
She was his rock.
Yes.
And that also, people often use the term being triggered wrongly. But certainly that would have been a major trigger for that boy as a man, because, as you say, everything, his safety, his survival would have been bound up in her presence. So it absolutely makes sense in terms of understanding what triggering means, because being triggered is not a conscious thing. You don't suddenly go, oh, I've been triggered. You don't know you've been triggered. What happens is it's a resonance. There's a resonance, and sometimes that resonance has no words and no thoughts, because when we think about the way complex trauma creates the organising environment for the brain, we don't know how our brain's organised. It just is. It's just in there. But if we have experienced a traumatic beginning and the way our neurobiology is laid down has been influenced by traumatic experience, We don't know any different way of being, but we don't feel good.
Yeah, it's funny how you say that, because as I grew up, there are certain things that were normal. Okay. And then as I lived how I lived, I perceived certain things to be normal. I would actually try and understand why certain people are behaving. And it wouldn't make sense. There was no sense to it until I started to understand what trauma really means. And it gave me also meaning, because I started to unpack certain things. You know, as you study sometimes, you start to read things and you start to reflect. And as you reflect, you realize, oh, this is actually not a very good thing that I used to do. And one of those things is looking back in school, because I was in primary school in the 90s, through the 90s. And I remember there were kids, students like me, who had different backgrounds. There were those who were more, their parents were present to pick them up and drop them off school. There were those who walked. And to me, being one of the people who was being picked up from school and dropped off, the ones who walked fascinated me more. I liked the walk. And we went to opposite sides. And as we interacted, there's also those who had what I came to understand as disability very well. And if you look at them and what they were subjected to and expected to be the same as the likes of the rest of the students who appeared to be okay, like, you know, like stable emotionally and the likes, it makes me think back that actually there's a lot that really needs to be instilled in schools and education and also healthcare, because if these young people are trained and learn at a tender age certain things even about themselves, it's going to transition into adulthood, and they'll give better, safer spaces around the environments.
And this really relates to what Bob was saying and what you're saying, which is that children with complex trauma do not do well at school because they will often behave in ways that they can't contain. Right? They'll do things that are difficult for the teacher to manage and control. And the teacher will then have an emotional and psychological response to that, which is unhelpful. And, you know, if you think about a disability that's obvious, say a child might be in a wheelchair. If you had a child in a wheelchair at a school that wasn't designed for disabled children, you would put a wooden ramp everywhere in the school that there was a step.
Yes.
You just would.
I would,
because they would have to have access to it.
Yes.
But where the problem or the issue is less visible and less easy to understand and more visible through difficult behaviour, what is termed difficult behaviour, where are the emotional ramps for that? Where are the ramps you can't see? Now, Bob was talking before about the importance of relationships, and relationships are the ramps.
Wow.
But the relationship on its own can't be enough. It's got to know what it's got to do. So you're both the ramp and the healing thing that happens when you get up the ramp.
Wow. You know, I like that, how you phrased it, like using the ramps as an emotional bridge. Like you comparing the ramps to the emotions, it's something you cannot see. But you have to create that environment and atmosphere for the other person to reach over.
And to make it possible. Because one of the impacts of complex trauma is that the brain organises itself most frequently without realising it. It just happens in a way that is physiologically heightened.
Okay.
Because the environment in which it's developed is not safe. right? If you're an infant and you're lying in your cot and you're crying because you're hungry.
Yes.
Or because your nappy's dirty. You have no other way of signalling that you have a need. If that need is not met, then over time, the impact on the infant is pretty woeful because they feel under threat. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
It's not a thought. No words, nothing, but it feels awful.
Yeah.
And so their neurobiology becomes more heightened. So they're in a state of physiological arousal, which actually makes it harder to think effectively. The more we go up the arousal continuum, the further down in our brains we operate. And so, if you're used to being in a state of extreme hunger from neglect and crying and crying and crying, anything that was there at the time that was happening could actually make you more aroused because you feel as if you're dying.
Yeah.
But you don't have the word dying because you don't know.
Yeah, it's just
So
a feeling.
your state memory is one of threatened survival. And if someone tries to talk to you about that because your survival's threatened, you can't talk to them about that because you know what's going on.
You don't even understand what's happening.
And so what does the ramp need to do?
Yeah.
The ramp, the relationship, the relational ramp needs to help that young person to calm. And the calmer they get or the safer they feel, the closer they can get to thinking.
Thank you so much for being part of today's conversation. If something in this episode resonated with you, make sure to share that with someone who may need it or might need to hear it too. At the Wellness Diary, we are building more than just a podcast. We're building a community focused on awareness, education, healing, and honest conversations around mental health and well-being. We also send out monthly email drops featuring reflections, mental health insights, blogs, upcoming events, and resources designed to support you on your journey. You can sign up through the link in our bio or via our website. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe across all platforms so that you never miss a conversation. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember, you belong, you can believe, and you're becoming.